Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. I'm really excited to be hanging with you and geeking out with you on the mysteries of the universe through tarot, Kabbalah, and what other mystical traditions may pop up in our time together. My name is Joe Monteleone. I run something called the Tarot Mysticism Academy, which is an online school where I teach people how to read tarot. I teach people how to be professional tarot readers. And then I also teach the mystical side of tarot as well. So those are kind of the big three things that I do. In our time together today, I'm going to be focusing on the mystical side of tarot through its connection with Kabbalah and some other fun things. And yeah, I love being here. This is like my favorite place to go to. It's the one event, Anahata's Purpose is the one event that gets me out of my apartment and traveling. So I'm really happy to be here with humans. And we're going to start counting the nose hairs of God, as Lan Maladuke would say. And I say that because the subject matter, the partial subject matter, Kabbalah, is, amongst other things, it's sort of the anatomy of God, in a way. We're going to get there. Has anyone here worked with tarot? Throw your hands up. Okay, cool, most of you. Very cool, but that's cool. So you know how when you consult the cards, when you're consulting tarot cards, I want to introduce to you a very specific difference between tarot reading and tarot mysticism. They're different but also related. So when you consult the cards, what you are doing when you're reading for yourself is you are looking at an aspect of you that is not currently literally sitting there in front of the cards, always, in a way. You're looking at a part of you that is not the whole of you. And you do this through either looking through time or context or aspect of yourself. So when you do a tarot reading, you might ask a question like, what do I need to know for the future? So you're looking at your future self, right? Or you might pull a card for the past and say, what can I learn from the past? Your past self. Even when you pull a card in the present position, like if you're doing a spread, a past, present, future, if you pull a card to tell you about your present situation, you're looking at a part of yourself in the present, okay? A part of yourself. So you might ask, you might do a reading on a relationship, and so you're looking at the part of you that's in that relationship. You might do a reading on the possible success of a choice. You're looking at the part of you that would be going in that direction. But here's the big problem with tarot. Well, before I go there, tarot reading, if I worked with you like consistently, I could get you reading those cards like it's nobody's business in like 4 months. You'd be like, you'd know everything, you'd be flipping cards, you'd be reading someone like a drag queen, bop, 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 you just know everything. It would be great. It's not necessarily easy, but it's kind of the easy part, is reading the cards for aspects of you, right? Using the cards to look within and get information and reflect, right? A lot of people will say the tarot is like a mirror, right? It reflects aspects of you. Okay. There's a lot of an existential kind of almost like epistemological problem with the tarot reading process. And I use the word epistemology is like, how do we know something, right? The philosophy, how do you know? And the problem with reading tarot, even when you're getting tarot read to you by somebody else, but reading your own tarot cards or having somebody else read tarot to you, is you are the one that is receiving the information. You are receiving the guidance, the reading, and it's about you, but you're looking at yourself somewhere else than you currently are. In time, in space, in context, you are having an idea of yourself that's not the you having the idea. See what I'm saying here? So whenever you do a tarot reading, and whenever you do, I would even go as far as to say, self-reflection of who you are, how is my life, where do I want to go next, which is so important. I've done so much and I'm still doing that. And I think we're all into self-development here probably. We're all into healing and we're all on one path. But when you do that, you can't help but split yourself into the you that is perceiving or doing the work and the idea of you that you are working on, right? So when you do a tarot reading, you split yourself into the you experiencing the tarot reading and the idea of you that you're getting information on. This is very important to know. Have we feel comfortable with that? Any questions or comments or shares about that so far?
I feel like it put a lot of what I already think about tarot kind of into words that make sense for the feelings I've gotten doing my own readings.
Yeah. Yeah, totally, yeah. When you pull cards, it can help feelings and experiences make sense. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Yes, totally. So when you do tarot, you bring up a great point. Pulling cards, reflecting on those cards, on that symbolism, on those meanings, it can help you make sense of your life experiences and your feelings and your thoughts. But always know that those feelings, those thoughts, those ideas of yourself are there, and then there is you, the observer, observing all of them. Okay, so a comfortable word that I'm seeing used more and more, which I really love, is the observer, right? So one of the big teachings that is emerging more and more in various disciplines, from mysticism to personal development to therapy, is being the observer, being the silent witness. So when you're being the observer, we all have the observer. That's the aspect of you that observes whatever is going on. So even if you're having like a really tough day, or you're feeling triggered and you have a bunch of, and your whole nervous system lights up, or you have an emotional reaction, or even if the whole damn world is exploding, there's still an observer observing it. And the observer is never actually affected by what's going on. So if you pull the Tower card and the Death card and the Ten of Swords and all these scary cards, and it's like, oh boy, the observer is not affected, okay? So there's the part of you that you read for, and then there's the observer part of you that is unaffected by anything. And this includes divination, tarot reading, but it also includes manifestation. Even if you got everything you wanted, if you had all the money in the world, the perfect relationships, everything you wanted, your observer would still be unaffected. So, what I'm going to teach you today is about the observer. And what tarot mysticism does, as I teach it, in its connection to various mystical disciplines, is it teaches you how to build a relationship with that observer. And when you have a stronger relationship with that observer, eventually nothing will touch you. That's the idea. Because if you know without a doubt that you are that observer, no matter what thoughts, feelings, energies, experiences come through, they will come through. They will, and you will want to work with them and feel them and experience them. But knowing that you are the observer, there is this huge release. It's this huge relief of this huge like sigh of relief of, oh my goodness. And yeah. And so first thing to know, write down, is difference between the idea of me and the observer. The observer is never an idea. It's just your own awareness. And one of the things that we've been doing a lot in this weekend together is, in various workshops, learning how to more intimately observe and be aware of what we're experiencing, good or bad. Because that's always a positive thing, to be aware. So there's the idea of you and the observer. So mysticism, as I teach it, is the art of recognizing that you are the observer. And various mystical traditions will get you to do that in so many different ways and so many contradicting ways. So when I say mysticism, it's not like this one, thing. But every form of mysticism helps you to build a relationship with that observer more intimately over time. So whether that's through like a tradition like Zen Buddhism, which is like a direct like whack in the head, like literally they like whack you with sticks, or like there's a spontaneity, there's like this kind of game that happens that surprises you into your own mindfulness of like, oh my God, I'm observing. Like there's that. then there are other traditions that break it down through ideas. So something like the philosopher Plotinus, who started Neoplatonism, who I have a huge crush on. If you ever see Plotinus, he's just hot. He has these beautiful cheekbones, and he's a philosopher. Like, he was not playing around. Like, Daddy Plotinus, I love him. I got a picture of him somewhere. Hopefully we'll pass over him. He's great. But his philosophy is like, he brings you there, and he's a no BS philosopher. He's like this. He doesn't make it fancy. He goes step by step. He brings you there into that moment of, I am the observer. And it's not his language, but he essentially gets you to that moment of, I am the observer, and there's nothing that's not the observer, and that's enlightenment, right? Okay. Qabala. Qabala is a form of Jewish mysticism. And Qabala does that in a similar way, though there's different methods within Qabala. And Qabala has become very connected with tarot, especially over the past several hundred years. And so Qabala will bring you kind of, in a way, like there's a step-by-step way. You climb this ladder or this tree into that, oh my God, I'm the observer moment. Okay? So what we're going to be looking at in this class together is how we can use tarot in connection with Qabala and some other mystical traditions to help us recognize that we are the observer, which to me is much more valuable than recognizing that we are what we want to be. Because if I tell you now that I want to be more confident, and I get more confident, I'm going to want something else, right? After that, I'm going to want more money, and then I'm going to get more money, and then I'm going to want a relationship, and then I'm going to get a relationship, and then I'm going to want something else. This is all things I've wanted, all things that I've gotten. You're always going to want something else if there is something other than you to want. So in mysticism, in varying traditions, from Plotinus to the Upanishads to Buddhism to whatever, they figured this out. And they said, okay, you're always going to have suffering unless you recognize that you are the unity of the unity, the universe, whatever you want to call it. Consciousness, God, nothingness, Brahman, whatever. So we're going to explore tarot and Qabala and whatever else might show up as various bridges that bridge us from our current experience into that moment of, I am the observer. How cool is that? Because the observer never wants anything. It just observes. It never says, I'm unhappy, I want to be happy. It never says, my relationships are bad, I want better relationships. It never says, I'm poor, I want more money. It just observes. And observation, pure awareness, is the most peaceful thing I've experienced. And so I've made my whole life and career around this stuff. But yeah, so what I have in front of me is, I'm what you would call a perennialist. So I believe that in all mystical traditions, there is one underlying truth. And all the mystical traditions will show you that truth, but in different ways, in different methods. And not only that, but a lot of mystical traditions will share similar ideas and practices to get you there. Not all of them, some of them are totally different, but when you've read enough mystical literature, some of them literally speak the same words, leads you to the same concepts, and that's what I love, because that tells me, oh my God, enough people throughout human history have figured it out. There's nothing stopping me from figuring it out. Let's go. Okay, so what I've done here is I've broken down a map, a bridge between the self that we experience normally, which is the self that wants something and doesn't want something, right? The self that is attracted to things and is averse to things, right? Which is down here, all the way down here. And all the way up there, above the red, would be the observer, the ultimate unity of things, okay? In my view, they're kind of the same thing. Now, you're going to notice how similar, these are the overlapping concepts of varying mystical traditions. So there's a few ways we can look at this map. One way is through creation. So we might say that, at the top is pre-create, like what existed before the universe in our current lives, and all the way at the bottom is the result of the creative process of the universe, right? So maybe we might say at the top is before the Big Bang or something, and then all the way at the bottom is the result of the Big Bang, all of that time, all the creation of the universe, and the human experience right now. That's all the way up here, down here. Another way we might look at this map is as above, so below. So going upwards would be more spiritual, going downwards would be more material. Another way we can look at this map is through the question, how does something come out of nothing? How does something come out of nothing? How did we get here? What's the purpose of it all? What's the teleology? What's the reason? Why do we exist? And I use the word nothing because in most mystical traditions, there is a level of pure nothingness that is not only real, but more real than what we experience. And that nothingness is not blackness. I don't want to scare anyone away. It's not like this void of like, oh, we're just going to dissolve into this nothingness. Like the Buddhists might call it emptiness, sunyata, the shunyavada, the doctrine of the void. In Vedanta, it would be Brahman. And Brahman, in a way, is existence, consciousness itself, but there's nothing there. It's just pure being, right? So this map shows how something comes out of nothing. And what you're going to notice is the tarot shows that as well. It shows how everything has come out of nothing. So I'm going to go through just like a couple of these examples to show you the similarities of what these various traditions are showing us. But first I want to describe these 4 general colors that I've put together. So in green, the green at the bottom would be our physical experience, the normal world, the colloquial world of where we're at. I call that the mechanical plane, and I call that the mechanical plane because it's mechanical. It's about knocking into things. It's cause and effect. So when most people read tarot, they're looking for what's causing what to happen, what is knocking into what to create your experience and your life and what's going on in the past and the present and the future. It's time, right? So the green is the physical. I want to also note that all of these, especially these 2, they're ladders to the divine, okay? And I just want to remind everyone that mysticism is approaching the observer and becoming the observer. And it's, in a way, it's like the direct path to the ultimate truth. So like religion does not always do that. It's not a direct path. It's like ethics and ritual and different things that can help you in that path. But one way to understand mysticism is like the inner circle, the extra credit of any religion. And most religions have some mystical tradition at its core. And usually, I'm not saying for every religion, but oftentimes that mystical tradition tends to be closer to the initial revelation or experience that brought about the whole religion, right? Now, here's another thing. And this is where it gets kind of like, not that it's exclusive, but the word esoteric. Esoteric is a word that means only for certain people to understand, or coded in a way for certain people to understand. And that's because a lot of esotericism and some mysticism as well was not meant for the public. And there's many reasons why historically, why certain mystical traditions had to go underground. But one of the reasons that mysticism is not always in the public, in the mainstream, is because people aren't always ready for it. Because when you really study mysticism, in whatever tradition, what you're doing is you're kind of trading in everything you thought that was for a whole nother paradigm. And that can be shocking for a lot of people. And there's a lot of people that don't want to do it, and there's a lot of people that will misinterpret it because it is such a paradigm shift, right? And as we can see I'm not going to name anything specific, but many religions have misinterpreted mystical traditions and have become completely the opposite of what originally existed before that. So that's the reason why a lot of this stuff is like hidden or esoteric or yeah. But one simple way, and again, this is not all mystical traditions, but one simple way to understand mysticism is that it is essentially a method or ladder to the divine, the unitive experience. And most mystical traditions result in some sense, some experience, like direct experience of unity. So each of these ladders, if you will bring us to that unity, bring us to that observer, bring us to that divine part of ourselves that no matter what happens will always be what it is and totally unaffected. So all the way to the right, you can't see it, the cards on it, but we have the Tree of Life. This is a roadmap, a glyph that comes from Qabalah, Jewish mysticism. Now this specific Tree of Life is the Hermetic Tree of Life, which is a later version, but the Hermetic Qabala is the Qabala connected to the tarot that we're going to start playing with today. But let's go back to our green area. So our green area is the physical and our bodies and all of that. The yellow area, this is our minds. So in our spiritual path, one of the first things we recognize is, oh, I'm not the body, I'm so much more than the body. I have my mind, I have my thoughts, I have my conversation and my ideas and my contributions and my feelings and my emotions and all the inner world and my dreams and the astral. All of that is yellow. This yellow area, anything you think, anything you dream, energy work to a degree is around here. I collapse a lot of things in this area. But anything in like the more abstract, fuzzy inner world would be yellow, okay? Now, blue is when you leave that. So in the spiritual path, right, we say, okay, we're not the body, we're so much more. We are our minds. We have so much to offer here. But even then, there's a moment where we say, wait, we're more than our minds. And when we take that step, when we exit out of our minds, like how many times have you heard, you're not your thoughts, you're not your thoughts, you're not your thoughts, you're not your thoughts? When we begin to release our attachment and identification with our thoughts, we go into this blue area, which is my favorite level. And the blue area is the simple sense of existing. It's the pure sense of I am, pure sense of I exist. It's a very, very profound level. And at that place, there's no mental suffering because it's just you exist, that sense of being. And then when you graduate, when you step over that level, there's the red level, which you can't even communicate. That would be like God mode, divine, like unitive experience with everything, and ultimately no thing. Because if you're truly united with everything, and if everything is all one, there would not be an other. And so in the blue space, there is an other because there is an I. There's yes, in the red, there is one, there's unity. But because there's unity, there's no thing in that unity, because if there was a thing, there would be a duality. If there was something there, you would be able to say, oh, it's a thing. Oh, but then you're not there anymore. The unitive experience, this is why you can't communicate it. This is another reason why mysticism can be so esoteric. You cannot write this shit down. The second you point to it, ironically, it's gone because you're pointing to something. And so all language, all mind, all idea, all experience itself must exist in duality if it is an experience. Because if there's something to experience, there's someone experiencing it. There's two. Okay. That's why I like this one the best, because you can talk about it ever so slightly. This one you can't talk about at all. This one you can hint at a little bit. These we can talk about all day long. We can talk about our feelings, emotions, ideas. We can talk about our bodies. But yeah. Okay. So here's our Tree of Life. And to give you a sense of what the Tree of Life does, the metaphor that I learned on was that it's kind of like a fountain. It's sort of like, I might go into this later, but you can imagine like the energy of the universe, consciousness, nothingness, the ultimate truth, the ultimate ground of being, God, Brahman, whatever you want to call it, pouring itself downwards to create everything that is. And each of these circles are known as sephirot, spheres. And sephirot, that's not something that you can translate, but a lot of people translate it as sphere or enumeration or shining sapphire, but the general idea is they are containers of this divine substratum, this pure God energy-ness, right, that you can't talk about, because remember, it's unity. So from unity, God, reality, pours itself into each of these, and it keeps pouring until it reaches us down here. Now, each of these spheres receive the energy and ever so slightly kind of add their own little vibe to it. And then every sphere underneath receives the vibes and the influences of all the spheres above until we get to Malkuth below, which is where we are now in the physical. So from nothingness, from unity, we start to split into duality in the blue. That duality pours itself into the yellow area, which is the kind of mental world, emotional world, the world of diverse experience that is a little bit more subjective, a little bit more fuzzy, and finally it pours itself into the green, which is our physical existence. Okay? Now, how are we feeling on that? We're going to go more into the tree of life, I promise, if we have time, but I just want a general idea of the tree of life. Fountain pours from high to low, pours from unity to duality to our current experience. But here's the thing that people miss. A lot of people think of the tree of life, especially in ceremonial magic, they think they want to hopscotch the spheres up to unity, up to God, or whatever you want to say. And it's not like you're going to travel to one of them, because the dimensions themselves are embedded in each of these spheres. So it's more like each sphere is like a skin of reality. So if I were to, so we can all see each other's bodies now, right? If you were to remove that physical skin, maybe you would see everybody's cells, right? More subtle. You would have more X-ray vision, or more subtle vision. Let's say if you remove that skin, you would start to see, not like skin, but the skin, the layover. You would see everybody's molecules, right? You would just see molecules everywhere. If you go even more subtle, you would see subatomic particles. That's more the idea of when we go up the tree. It's more subtlety of awareness. Just another kind of way to look at it. Because a lot of times people think, oh, if I go up in the sky, I will eventually reach Keter, and it's not like height like that. Okay. So Plotinus was probably influenced and influencing Kabbalah, and he has his his system of hypostases, and these are similar to the Kabbalah, where divinity is pouring itself downwards, and he speaks of emanation. So the idea is the ultimate source, God, that which you can't describe, unity, emanates itself into various layers until it reaches where we are down here. And we are like this receptacle of that divine energy, starting with what he calls the one, going into the intellect, the soul, and then nature. So the intellect is the first seed of duality, that sense of I exist. The soul is where all of our stuff is, our emotions, feelings, thoughts, karma, all of that. And then nature on the bottom is the actual physical manifestation of all that. And you'll find similar things in the Upanishads I have listed, Tantra, my own notes, and you'll find similar things anywhere. But the general idea is emanation. And this was a very popular paradigm, especially in the Hellenistic era, from I think that, what was that, 300 BC to 200-300 CE or so. There was a lot of ideas, the planets, for example, are emanations. If anyone likes Hermeticism, you will find a very kind of similar paradigm here. But as above, so below. So that's kind of what we're going to be working with. And when we see tarot, and we study it at this level, we see the tarot as an illustration of the process through which the unity becomes duality and becomes literally our own experience. And when you know the tarot as the map, that you could climb up yourself, become that observer, and then nothing will touch you. Okay, did I scare anyone away yet? Okay, cool. So just to review, how does something come out of nothing? These are many maps. Not all the maps, but many maps, okay? And they show how out of nothingness comes somethingness, and how out of that something becomes literally us, and how we are ultimately going to be that divine nothingness. Thank you for coming. No, it's so good to see you. Okay, so this is where we're going to take some notes, and I'm going to go through this. I'm going to present to you 4 ideas. 4 very big, important ideas, but before I present them to you, we should talk about the structure of the tarot deck, because I didn't include that in this workbook. This workbook is one of my advanced courses, but I just love this stuff, and I really want people to see how far tarot really goes It goes way farther than divination and actually can show you like the inner workings of reality if you want to play with it at that level. Okay, so the tarot deck, you can also take notes on this if you want. Tarot deck has two main sections, the major arcana and the minor arcana. The major arcana have 22 trump cards. Fun Trump, not Donald Trump, but the Trump of, like the idea of the Trump was, I believe it was a part of a parade in the Italian Renaissance, which the cards kind of refer to. But anyway, so they have 22 cards that have names that do not have numbers, that do not have suits. They are the archetypal cards, and they are the big secrets of the tarot. So you got your Fool, your Magician, your High Priestess, your Empress, your Emperor, all the way to the World. So those are your major arcana cards. They're the big secrets. They're the big guys. Let's put a pin in those. Then we have our minor arcana, which have 4 suits. So you know it's a minor arcana if it has a suit. You know it's a suit if the card says of something. So like in a regular card deck, you have spades, hearts, diamonds, and clubs or whatever. In the tarot deck, usually you have wands, cups, swords, and pentacles. Those are the traditional, and by traditional, I mean post-Golden Dawn tarot. Most tarot today, like 95% of today's tarot, is post-Golden Dawn tarot, which is why it's important to study the Golden Dawn. I'm sorry, you don't have to, I'm sorry, but if you're using tarot, you are working with that system. You can throw it away, I don't care, but it is there. A lot of people say, tarot and Kabbalah aren't connected. It's frickin' there. You don't have to like it, you don't have to use Kabbalah and tarot. Most people don't, but if you wanna really understand its higher mysteries, you're gonna wanna at least look into Kabbalah a little bit. Okay, anyway. No, so that's a whole other thing. So Kabbalah is not considered the Golden Dawn. So the other thing, yeah, so Kabbalah, earliest records of Kabbalah come out of around 1100 CE, and it comes from it comes from earlier Jewish mysticism, which is not Kabbalah. It comes from Merkaba mysticism, Hechelot mysticism, and probably other things that were hanging out as like for a long time. But they were hanging out with Pythagorean mysteries and Hermetic mysteries. They were all like buddies in different points in time. But Kabbalah developed, and then in the Renaissance, it was mixed again with all the other systems that I mentioned. And then that chilled for a bit. And then in the late 1800s with the Golden Dawn, it was mixed again. So Kabbalah, Hermeticism, Gnosticism, mysticism really in general, the truth is that the history goes like this. They all hang out, they get together, they have this big workshop, then they go all around the world, they bring their mysteries, then they come back together 1,000 years later and they do it again. It's just the pattern I've seen. But again, I'm no historian, so I wouldn't trust me. But I'm a little bit of a perennialist, so I lean more towards, can we find the connections here? Not everybody likes that, and it's totally cool. But anyway, yeah. What is the Golden Dawn? Okay, so the Golden Dawn was a group of rich people with a lot of time on their hands in the late 1800s who got together and they were Freemasons. Well, three Freemasons got together, and so what tends to happen is when you have enough money and you have a lot of time on your hands, you get into the spiritual and the mystical. And if you're a Freemason, one of the fun things to do is to make your own Freemasonry. So this happens a lot. So these 3 Freemasons, I guess they were bored of Masonry. They got together and they said, hey, let's make our own thing. They made the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, and they either fabricated or found these sacred mystical texts called the cipher manuscripts that helped them build out this mystery school. And it was a bunch of magic users, and there was like initiations and rituals, but it was all for attaining enlightenment, attaining the great work, attaining the ultimate truth. And they were also progressive. For the time, there were like women in there and stuff. It was cool. It's just like a place where it's influenced a lot of Western esotericism and magic. And so the tradition that I play with tarot and Kabbalah is through the Golden Dawn, which would be the Hermetic Kabbalah, which is not necessarily the Jewish Kabbalah, the OG Jewish Kabbalah, though there are a lot of connections and you will see similarities. It's not the same thing. So if you go to a rabbi and say, well, Joe told me, please don't do that.
Who the hell is Joe? The Western Kabbalah versus
I don't know if I'd call it Western Kabbalah. I would say the word is like Hermetic Kabbalah or Kabbalah with a Q. But maybe. I mean, I'm interested. If I had time, I'd be studying all this stuff. But you will see connections along the way as you go up and up. And the higher you go, the more connections you'll see. But the actual, how do I say this? The progress of studying any of these things are like the way that you study and grow with any of these traditions. The means and the symbols are different. So, but the results, I truly believe the results are the same. But yeah, so where was I? We're going into these 4 ideas. A structure of the tarot. Is that where? Okay, let's go back to the structure of the tarot. I'm very ADHD. This is a very, I love this festival because I get to say the neurospicy in me sees the neurospicy in you. Yeah. So minor arcana, let's go back to the minor arcana. So minor arcana and when I say traditional tarot, I mean post-Golden Dawn, which isn't even super traditional, but it is what most people use today is influenced by that tradition in one way or another. And so we have 4 suits. We have wands connected to fire. Oh, look, it's red like fire. We have cups connected to water. Oh, look, it's blue like water. We have swords connected to air. Oh, look, it's yellow because air is clear and I don't know what else to put for that color. Oh, look, we have number 4 is pentacles or discs or discicles or coins. And that suit is connected to earth, the element of earth, which is green, like earth down here. See where we're going a little bit? We got 4 elements, we got 4 suits, we got 4 general planes. Yeah, so the 4 suits are those. Those 4 suits, in each suit you have 10 numbered cards. From ace through 10. Ace through 10 in 4 suits, that means you have 40 numbered cards. They are also called pip cards. Pip cards because they will have a number of suit symbols on them based on what suit they're in, right? So we got ace to 10 of wands, ace to 10 of cups, ace to 10 of swords, ace to 10 of pentacles, discs, or coins. You also have court cards. We have 4 offices of the court. We have king, queen, knight, and page, or knight, queen, prince, and princess, if you work with the Thoth deck. They're sometimes a little different, but you have 4 offices, and there are 4 of those in each suit. So you have 16 total court cards, 16 people cards. So just to review, we got 4 suits. In each of those 4 suits, there are 10 numbered cards and 4 court cards. Notice the numbers 4 and 10, okay? We're going to focus on 4. If we get to 10 today, that's great. If not, maybe I'll do 10 in tomorrow's class. So I'm going to share with you, any questions so far before I go on to the 4 big ideas?
So playing cards, were they based off of tarot cards?
We're playing cards based off of tarot cards. Great question. In the time that Rachel Pollack wrote her famous 78 Degrees of Wisdom, I believe it was thought that playing cards were based on tarot cards, but it has since been discovered that that is not the case, that there were cards that were existing before tarot cards, but it's kind of hard to say. I think the first tarot deck came about the 1400s in Italy, and it was, well, see, it's hard. The first tarot deck was never found, but the oldest what one would consider a potential tarot deck was probably 1400s Italy, and it was a playing card game for a rich family, but I don't think, there were probably other playing cards at that time too. What I will say is the ideas of tarot, I don't know if I could really say that with a lot of confidence, but I believe that the ideas that tarot brings to us, at least esoterically and mystically, were around for way before tarot cards came into being. Tarot is just like a thing that brought in, especially alchemy and stuff. Yeah. Okay, so the 4 big ideas, and I'm going to give you these 4 big ideas first, and they're going to become kind of like the molding for everything else we're going to potentially look at today. But if I would say this is like the big thing to remember is the 4 general ideas here are how something comes out of nothing. And so whether it's the tree of life, whether it's Plotinus's great chain of being, his hypostases, or if it's like if you're going through the koshas in the Vedic system, in the Indian philosophy, like there's just a little bit of these four ideas in them. So the first idea is movement. So remember, we are looking at how does the universe and our experience come into being. So if we were to go into the beginning of time, before time itself, when there was this divine nothingness, that every good myth starts with nothingness, right? Every good mythology. I'm going to list these so you can write it down. Movement, relationship, concept, embodiment. Those are our four big ideas. So every good myth starts with some sort of nothingness that somehow breaks or folds or something happens for that nothingness to be dual, to be something, right? So the idea is movement. So if you imagine like the ultimate ground of being, the ultimate truth, God, Brahman, whatever, in the Kabbalistic we would say God, Yahweh, if God had everything, it was everything, the ultimate, God wouldn't need anything, right? So if God is truly the ultimate, all-present, ever, omniscient, all-powerful, God doesn't need anything. So why create anything, right? So the idea that we will find in varying traditions is there's some sort of movement of the absolute that we don't know why, but there's a movement, okay? And that movement, because there is a movement within itself, there forms a relationship. So the way I like to describe this, I'm going to use this. Okay, I want you to imagine that this blanket or whatever is the universe before anything happened. So you could say it's like God, it's the ultimate truth, it's the whatever. So the idea is you have this ultimate thing, and there's nothing else but this, right? The movement would be itself folding in on itself, okay? It folds in on itself because there is nothing else but it. So what does it do? It just does itself more. It moves. And when it moves, now that I've folded it, it can touch itself, okay? And by touching itself, see how the fabric is touching itself? There is a relationship. So if you go into like, there's in the Egyptian tradition, I think it's, I forget who it was, not Ra, but Amun created the universe through his own masturbation. So it's kind of like this cosmic masturbation of, oh, I exist. So we have this plane, right, that is pure being. It moves, and then when it moves, it folds in on itself to touch itself. And there's a relationship now with it and itself. And now we're in duality. And when there's a relationship, we're in the blue. This here, this blueness, this relationship of ontological existential being with itself is the single most sought after mystery of all mysticism and esotericism everywhere. This is where we want to go. It is the coolest place. Plotinus, for example, takes on so many ways to describe this. He calls it the nous, or the intellect. The intellect is not the mind in this case. It's a different thing. It's the pure sense of existing, I exist. But remember before when I said there's that sense of I exist, but if there's an I that's existing, I said something to the effect of there's a not I, maybe I didn't say it. But if you know that you exist, there's a you and there's a not you. So here there is the relationship of what you are and what you are not. And that comes out through the movement of the cosmos within itself. Okay? Any questions so far before I go on to yellow and green? Okay, cool. This is a really cool place to be because then you're just like walking through life and it's like consciousness just touching itself everywhere. It's just like, it's a fun place. All right, concept. So the concept comes in when you say, I exist, right? So if this is not nothing, red is nothing, it's just movement into something. The something is I exist. The yellow is, or the blue is I am. Let's say it's I am. The relationship of being with itself, I am. The yellow is I am what? What am I? So if I say I am Joe Monteleone, we're in concept. Because Joe Monteleone is a name, it's a concept, it's an idea. It's totally a brand. You should check out my YouTube channel. But whoever you are, right? Or like, I am a loving partner. I am a human being. I am at Anahata's purpose. All of these are concepts that come out of this basic relationship of being, of I exist. Okay? And the concepts are more duality, right? So this is like primal duality, that pure sense of I exist. This is, we could say, is the elaboration of that duality. So we need this relationship for anything to be anything, right? Did I lose anyone? Okay, so this is the conceptual world. This is the mind. This is like also, in a way, feelings, emotions. They're all elaborations of this initial fold. So if I had a flat paper and that was consciousness or nothingness, and I would move it to fold it, that's the movement. When it is folded and it can touch itself, have a relationship with itself, that's the blue, that's relationship. If I kept folding it into some fancy origami, that would be concept and embodiment. So it's like the folding of consciousness within itself again and again to elaborate on itself to manifest the universe, okay? That's a metaphor you can play with and I don't know. It's a good conversation starter, I guess. Okay, so concept, blueprint of the universe. And concept will eventually include the astral world, the dream world, all the subtle planes, like ghosts, spirits. A lot of people like this area, especially in like New Age communities, spiritual communities, we like the conceptual. And usually that's because we want to change something down here. We don't like something that's happening down here in our bodies or in our life, so we go up here to change it, and we do. So whether that's through therapy, magic, personal development, healing work, a lot of that happens here. This is a whole existential place, whole nother level of work. And we can't say anything about what's on top of that. Okay, so concepts will eventually become embodiment, and I feel like the only thing I need to say about that is like when you make a choice and you physicalize something, right? You know, I chose to bring this computer and make this projection, and I put it all together in Canva, and now it's physically here, and here we are. So that's manifestation. Manifestation happens throughout this whole thing, but in the way that we do it as humans, it's usually from here to here. We have an idea or a feeling or an energy or a goal, and we feel that we have it, and then we take action, and hopefully we get that, right? So manifestation, idea into mind into matter. So matter is the physical world, our bodies, all of that. Now, what's really happening is manifestation is coming all the way over here. So like I said before, if you do all your manifestation from here and here, and you're rich or famous, or you have all the relationships you want, and everything is good, and you still come to me and say, or whoever, and you could go to the mystics or the sage and say, hey, everything's so freaking great, but also there's something missing. Then I would go in the back room of the shop, and I'd take this box, this dusty old box. I'd bring it to you, I'd dust it off, I'd take that box off, and you know what would be there? The blue! And the blue, and really the red, is non-duality, which I taught yesterday, and it will be on YouTube if you want to watch it. But yeah, so any questions so far? It's kind of like, what does this have to do with tarot and Kabbalah? We're going to get there, I promise. I love this stuff because it's like, what does this have to do with anything? Well, it has to do with everything because it is everything. Okay, so let's go to these 4 elements. All right, so our 4 elements are fire. Let's hear the remix. Fire, water, air, and earth. Elements of astral birth, right? No? 90s? I don't know where I got that. Scott Cunningham or something? I don't know. We all have a Scott Cunningham phase. It's okay. I'm just kidding. Oh, God, I love it. Okay, so wands represent fire, and that loosely represents that nothingness coming into something, that primal, spiritual, ontological life force that makes the universe, that creates the universe. It's the creative. So you'll notice in all the cards of the wand suit of the tarot, you will notice it's about some sort of creative process or purpose or conquering or going for your goals or something that's like, I want that. There's will, there's desire, there is, yeah, all that fun stuff. And that's our red. That is our nothingness going into something. Now, the something, remember blue was relationships? So remember when I had the fabric, the movement of red is the suit of wands. When you move it, when you fold it, it can touch itself. Now it has a relationship. So remember before, like the self-masturbation of the universe to come into existence, that is the suit of cups. It's relationship. That's the big idea. And that's why all the cups are about relationships. And the element of water is about emotions and relationships. How do we relate? It's the other. It is that other that comes in. So you'll notice all suits of cups are about generally either relationships or emotions or something like that. Suit of swords is yellow. So when we have somebody in our life, when we have a relationship, that's really what gives us, it starts to add or shift our self-concept. Right? If there was no relationship between if you were the only person in the whole world, like after a zombie apocalypse, you would eventually start losing your self-concept. It would just be the day. You would just go throughout the day in your experience. But we have all these people reflecting to us ourselves in varying ways in our relationships and our experiences and conversations. All these identifications that come on us and go away. It is the concept that comes out of relationship. So all the suit of swords in the tarot are related to concepts. And concepts are what bring people together or separate them. And so you'll see in the swords that's where it can get a little dark, because with concepts we actually develop our ego, and it's the ego that is actually afraid of death. And that's why at the end of the suit of swords you see the Ten of Swords is the guy with all the swords stabbed in his back. And at that level of the swords we are faced with our own relationship with mortality, which is itself the illusion of the ego, which is itself the nexus point of all of our ideas and concepts. But that's kind of another class. So suit of swords is concepts, and yeah. Suit of pentacles is the physical world, embodiment. And I'm going to play on a little bit of a non-dual Vedantic idea here, and I would say that, maybe put a little Alan Watts here, matter, the suit of pentacles, the suit of earth, material is really meter. It's really measurement, right? So this chair is only a chair because I name it so, and my experience can conceptualize a chair on top of that. I can take in the experience and I can conceptualize it as a chair. It has a measurement. So it's really meter, right? Your whole body itself, well, I don't want to go there. I don't want to scare anyone away. Just listen, all matter is meter, okay? It's all measurement, right? And when you don't measure it, it's gone. Okay, so that's in one way, it's not exactly how manifestation works, but one way we can understand that is anything, any material thing that shows up in our world is really a name, a form, or a function. I'm pulling from Vedic philosophy a little bit. A name, a form, or a function. And the names, mind, form, function, render our physical experience. Okay? So those are our 4 suits of the tarot. Any questions before I move on? Because next thing we're going to do, we're actually going to talk about Qabala now. So this is why I love this stuff, because it's like the tarot, it literally shows you the inner workings of your own experience and reality. It's not just like, when will he text me back? Which is fine, by the way, because I've asked that plenty of times. But, okay, so remember our 4 big ideas are red is movement, blue is relationship, yellow is concept, green is embodiment. So one way, so in Kabbalah, there are 4 worlds. And just like the ladders that I showed you earlier on, these 4 worlds show us how God, or the ultimate, or the ground of being, Yahweh, created the whole damn universe, step by step, through emanating itself into lower and lower forms of itself. So all the way up top, we are going to start with the idea of movement, and the Kabbalistic world is Atzilut, or Atziluth. And that is known as the archetypal world or the world of emanation. It's also connected to the idea of nearness. So at that high level, that high spiritual level, there's really nothing but God, nothing, or consciousness, or I use the word consciousness a lot. That's not a Kabbalistically traditional thing, but I just do what I want. So whatever you want to call it, nothingness, Brahman, whatever. But that unity is the nature to emanate itself, is that creative source of everything, okay? It's nothingness becoming something. And it's a little bit expressed by the suit of wands, a little bit. Now the next world, we go into, what's the next thing? Relationship. When that unity moves within itself, when it masturbates within itself, when it has a little boogie to become the universe, it creates a relationship with itself. And so that relationship, the Kabbalistic world associated with that idea is Bria, which is the creative world. Bria literally means creation, I believe. Now, when you create something, there's something other than you. When there is a creator and a created, there is a relationship. There's nothing really created in Atziluth. It's just that movement of becoming, and that becoming going into creation. So we have Bria here. Now, that spiritual energy, that divine God, whatever you want to call it, is going to continue going downwards into us, into our literal direct experience, and it's going to now go into the next phase, which is concept. So when the creator creates something, it conceptualizes it, right? And God said that was good. And God said, so there's this concept happening. The concept is Yetzirah, which is the formative world. And you can think of the formative world like the blueprint of reality, like the subtle plane. And then the blueprint of reality is going to continue that energy is going to keep pouring downwards into the physical manifestation we experience right now in Asaya, which is the world of action, which is the physical world, which is the embodiment. And I want to share that this is not something that is just happening cosmically, like in the entire universe of all reality, but it is something that you do all the time, right? So you were in the red up here in Atziluth, figure in a way, when you had the will to do something. Maybe you didn't know what you wanted to do, but you wanted to do something. And then in the blue, in Bria, there's a creating agent. There is more of a goal. So in the blue, there is a sense of, I want to create something. What do I want to create? Maybe I want to create some type of healing or personal development. And then you find Anahata's purpose, and you get excited about that. So you've created that in your world, right? And then you say, I'm going to do this. And then the concept comes in, which is like maybe the concept of, oh, I'm actually going to go to this. I'm going to choose this. I'm going to buy the ticket. And then the embodiment is actually being here with me right now, physically. I know a lot of you are creative because this community brings in a lot of creative people. If you've ever done any creative work, which you all have, because if you're human, you're a creator, you've gone through these 4 stages. You've had a desire. That desire became a sort of goal, something you wanted to create. That creative drive, that idea, you eventually made a blueprint of that, whether that was a rough draft of like an essay in college or whatever it was, you made a blueprint, and eventually you manifested it, you physicalized it, and you could physically touch it, right? So all of this is us. We are running this whole game wherever we are. Any questions on our 4 worlds? So remember, this is how does something come out of nothing? And the 4 suits of the tarot show us, illustrate for us these 4 worlds.
Do those 4 worlds, do they correspond to the Sephirot, or is that a different way of...
Yes. Do the 4 worlds correspond to the Sephirot? Yes. So they do. There's a couple ways you can do that. So in the Lurianic tradition, you can have 4 trees of life of 10 sephirot each, and then each world has a tree. But then there's another way you can do it where Keter and Hokmah, the first 2, you can also put them all on one tree. So it depends on which tree of life you're playing with. And then it can be argued that the tree of life is holographic, so in every sephirot there's a tree in itself. So yeah, they correspond in different ways.
And just for clarification, so the 4 worlds that you're showing us are just kind of like a lens to then look at the sephirot?
I would say,
Like they're separate, they're not like, they don't, in the yellow world of concept, they exist in different concepts, like one looks at the other.
yeah, I would say this is like the index, and then the book will be the sephirot, maybe. Yeah. So this is kind of like the general, yeah. And yeah, depending on which tree you use, but yeah. So yeah, where do we want to go next? So like this, for example, to answer that, you could look at so the tree of life, remember I showed you before, there's the tree of life which maps the distance, the path between us and the ultimate unity, God, whatever you want to call it. And in this system, there's a tree of life for each element. There's a tree of life for each world. And so that makes 10 sephirot given to each of these worlds, which is a kind of a Lurianic approach, I believe. But yeah, let's see. Maybe we'll go into some more Kabbalah stuff. By the way, remember when I said Plotinus? Look at him. Look at these cheekbones. Am I right? Like, you would totally trust this guy in Greece, right? Like, he had his whole thing going. He had like a whole cult going. Ah, love him. Oh, by the way, this quote right here is where he like brings together. Remember that place where I was like the purest sense of being, the blue space? This is this big quote on the blue space. How can the knowing phase know? Remember in the whole beginning of the class, I said, when you consult the tarot, there's that epistemological contradiction. There's the you knowing, and then there's the knowledge from the reading and the idea of you. So you're splitting yourself into knower and known, right? Do you remember that? Knower and known. So he says, how can the knowing phase know itself in the known when it has chosen to be the knower and put itself apart from the known? In such self-knowledge, by sundering, by separating, it can be aware only of the object, not of the agent. It will not know its entire content or itself as an integral whole. So he's saying that if you're separating yourself, how are you going to know the actual truth of you if you're thinking of yourself like a year from now? If you're pulling a tarot card of what's going to happen to me in the future, you're separating yourself. Not a bad thing. It's useful. It's helpful. Personal development, therapy, growth, healing, yes, 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 yes. But then there will come a time in one lifetime or another where you're like, huh. And then you're going to unfold that. And then something else is going to happen. You're going to ask something?
I was just going to make a comment. Would that, in a way, be kind of like manifestation?
I would actually say it's the reverse. Because if you manifest something, you say, I want something that I don't have, right? You create something. It's going downwards. It's going from mind to matter. But then mysticism is, now that you have everything you want, you release it all. So you actually, if you think about it like this way, you have a piece of paper, which is consciousness, and you fold that piece of paper into the origami. The folding and the origami, beautiful origami, that beautiful crane, is your manifestation. And it's like you enjoy that. And then mysticism is when you unfold it. You go back up. Okay. So just to review, this is not Kabbalah, but this is comparing Plotinus with, oh, I didn't even get into this guy. This is the Tetractis of Pythagoras. So this is, some people call it the father of all occult symbols. It was a sacred symbol in the Pythagorean cult. And in my interpretation, this mirrors this and shows these 4 big ideas. From unity, one point, single oneness, to duality, knower versus known, to concept, to embodiment. By the way, you need 3 to make a concept because there's you, there's me, and then there's that through which we existed. And that's how I know myself separate from you within the unity. So there's 3 here. Lots of 3s happen. You need a past, present, and future to have a concept as well. This is going to a whole other thing, but you can't have a concept unless there's an idea of you, because you have this experience of the past and the experience of the future, and you have the illusion that you've stayed the same the whole time. So that illusion of sameness that travels from past, present, and future is the self-concept, which Buddhism and other traditions break down when you go up. And then down here is circumstance and situational stuff, which is material. But I might go into more of that tomorrow. Okay, let's go into okay, let's see. So I'm going to quickly go through the 10 numbers now. Does anyone have any questions on our 4 big ideas? So we know that our 4 big ideas are the 4 suits of the tarot. And now I'm going to go through 10 numbered really quickly, and you're going to notice how the 10 numbers tell the same story as those 4 big ideas. So I'm going to teach you the same creative process, which you all are, which the cosmos is, but through 10 Sephirot now. So remember, Tree of Life is a bridge between where we are and the unity of all things, or God, or whatever, from matter to spirit, below to the above. We have 4 big ideas that express that journey. Now we're going to have 10 still very big ideas, but not as big. And they're called the Sephirot. And they are going to show up for the 10 numbered cards of the tarot, from ace through 10. Okay, we have Keter, which is the very beginning. And Keter is the source, the monad, the singularity, the unity. Remember how I said there's this idea of movement? So when movement happens, Keter moves itself into number 2, which is called Hokmah. Hokmah means wisdom. Wisdom is the expansive power of the universe to become itself. And the best way to understand Hokmah is through the idea of force. It's like the masculine force of the universe, and you can attribute the logos to it, the will, the intelligence of the universe to become itself. So that's Hokmah, masculine. Binah is feminine. Oh, look at that. We got some masculine, feminine. We got some yin, some yang, some up and down, some nice polarity, duality, and that's going to create the whole tree. And this is the sacred marriage right here. This is Purusha. This is Prakriti. There's so many different things. This is Brahman. This is Maya. Anyway, this is force and this is form. So number 3 is Binah. Binah takes the energy of Hokmah, which is force. Hokmah is force and wants to create the universe. And Binah says, hey, wait a minute. Let's slow down. If you don't slow down and stop once in a while, you're going to run yourself into non-existence again. So Binah gives form to the force of Hokmah. In the same way as like a female would give birth to a form, a child from the sperm, the egg would give form to the sperm of the male participant, right? So feminine, form, masculine, force. And this has nothing, gender is used in different ways, and it can mean a bunch of stuff, like we all have masculine and feminine in us, and I don't want to go in that conversation right now, but yes. So we have force, we have form. You could think of it as energy and matter, though that wouldn't be totally accurate. You could totally conceptualize it like that. So we have the force of the universe, the form. When the form of Binah means understanding. So to understand something is to receive something and know its edges, to know its form, to know its shape, to understand it, right? The wisdom is the pure onrush of something. The understanding is, I understand that. And that is the relationship. Remember I said movement is, and then there's relationship? Binah offers relationship to Hokmah, which is movement, and that relationship is understanding. So if we take our fabric of consciousness, right? We have the fabric of consciousness, God, whatever. That consciousness moves through Hokmah and folds in on itself and touches itself. And in that self-experience, in that relationship, we have Binah. And there's an understanding. So self-knowledge is Binah. It's all the form of the universe, okay? So when there's a relationship, then there can be a concept. If you know that you exist, you can exist as something, right? And so that something is now going to develop over these 6 next sephirot. This is the hexad, and this is where concept comes in. And concept comes in through various stages. In Hesed, this is mercy. This is the universe saying, pouring itself out into everything that it can be. And you're going to notice that on this side of the tree, there's an additive nature, and on this side of the tree, there is a subtractive nature. So this side is positive, this side is negative. This side is masculine, this side is feminine. The feminine side, the feminine pillar, the pillar of severity it's called, provides form so that the universe doesn't blow itself out of existence again. The masculine side provides the energy and the movement into itself. So they perfectly, it's duality, it perfectly balances each other out. So we have this initial relationship of the sense that this understanding, everything that exists comes through Binah to be a thing, to have edges, to have form. That subtle form goes into Hesed, and Hesed gives it this is the aspect of God, consciousness, whatever, to mercifully give it existence. So in Hesed we have space itself. Or you might say it's mercy, but it's also like 3D space. In Geburah, number 5, this is the sephira of change and struggle. This is called severity. So severity, the severity of life, the challenges, balances the mercy of the universe. So this is merciful universe, this is severe universe. This is you're forgiven, this is you're not forgiven. This is you can eat all you want, this is you're going on a diet. So they balance each other out. So Geburah comes in and says, hey, space, if Geburah didn't come in with that, Geburah is also change and motion. So change has to come in for you to experience anything, right? So if there was just space, if there was just self-concept in space, there would be no stuff. There would be nothing to play with. But because Geburah comes in and gives change, now we can start to have experiences. Because remember, if you don't have a change, all experience can only happen through change. You need an on and an off switch of the light. If there was a constant in your life that didn't change, you would not experience it. I would ask you, what is the color of your corneas, right? It's a constant in your life. The color of your corneas never changes, unless it does, then I'm sorry. But for most people, it doesn't change. So you would never be able to tell me, oh, my corneas kind of have a little yellow shade. You wouldn't be able to say that because it's always been like that. You need to change to experience something. So Geburah provides that change to Hesed to experience something. Hesed, by the way, is comfort. This is our comfort place. When we leave Hesed, we hit Geburah, and that's our challenges in life, which get us to experience and expand. Okay? Now, when those two come together, we go into Tiferet. Tiferet translates to beauty, and this is the real heart of self-concept. Because now that we're in space, moving through time, we can say that there is something called I that has existed throughout the change. We need a past and a present and a future to contrast the experience of something that is moving through it, that is somewhat the same. And so that self-concept, that illusion of sameness, of that entity that's moving through the past, present, and future, that's moving through the change, is the self-concept. And that's Tiferet. But Tiferet is a very high self-concept. So this is where all of the ascended masters are connected to. Jesus, Buddha, Osiris, whoever. They're all here because they have a sense of self, but it's so pure, untainted by what's going to come next, that they are in this position of being a master. This is also the heart of the tree of life, and is the middle point between the above and the below. So it is a very important sephira right here. Okay, so beauty, self-concept. How does that self-concept exist? Because it's the ability to say, I have a past and a present and the future. It is the ability for change to happen and you to say, I was the same throughout. It's the illusion of the sameness of the ego running through time. Without that change, there can not be a self-concept. Does everyone get that? This is a big, big step. It goes, because this is going from the relationship, that cosmic self-knowing. This is different than, this is self-concept. This is I am Joe Monteleone, and I live in Philadelphia, now I'm here, and then I'm going to go back to Philadelphia. That's the change. But this is just I am. I purely am. I purely exist. And this we can't talk about. See how the four ideas are playing themselves? But now this tree is explaining those four ideas for us. Okay. Ready to move on? Okay. So when this, you can see the tarot cards connecting all these things too, which we might not get to. But when this goes into Netzach, when Tiferet goes into Netzach number 7, then there's desire. So now we have self-concept, but Netzach is what brings self-concept into circumstance, into situations. And this is the place of I want something. I don't have something. It's the death card. So in Netzach, it's not the death card. The death card's, don't worry about the death card. Ignore that. We'll get there if we do. Maybe I'll do major arcana tomorrow. I think maybe tomorrow's class will be a continuation of this because it's just so much stuff. Netzach number 7 is victory. It translates to victory, and it's more about the desire and the ambition nature of our experience. And the reason why it's lower here is because it's a lower manifestation of the self-concept. So this is pure, like, who am I? And then this is, what do I want? This is going to tell us how to get that. And this is going to be the subconscious that works to get that. Okay? See how it's going down more and more into manifestation, less spiritual, if you will, less divine? Okay. So in Netzach, we have desire. And also emotions are attributed to Netzach in the Hermetic tradition. Emotions, feelings, like all that good stuff. Hod is the intellect. Not the intellect, well, yeah, the intellect, the mind, the thoughts. And so the thoughts come in to support what we want. The thoughts say, if this is what do we want, this is how are we going to get it. So there's a methodical nature to Hod. Hod is the mind, okay? So you might say 7 is emotions and desires. 8 is mind and thoughts and methods. They come together into the 9, which is Yesod. Hod translates to glory, by the way. It's the glory of humanity, which is our mind. That's one way to interpret it. Yesod is our subconscious. Yesod means foundation. It's the foundation of the whole tree. So on a cosmic scale, this is the astral world, but on a personal scale, this is your own subconscious. And your subconscious takes what you want and your thoughts, brings them together, and your subconscious literally runs your physical body. The autonomic nervous system, your fight or flight system, your triggers, all your nervous system, your heart beating, breathing, all the things you do subconsciously, unconsciously, that's Yesod. The physical body is Malkuth. And here we are, right here, being physical bodies. And this is like not just static, it's running constantly from above to below as one creative process. That is the universe, but is also our lives. This is Malkuth. Malkuth translates to kingdom or kingship, and that is the physical world where we are now, the below. Any questions on our tree of life? Yeah.
I don't want to hijack with this question, but I'm curious if you could say just a little bit about the line that runs from the unspeakable to Malkuth.
Yes.
The middle path.
Yes, I'm glad you asked. So there are paths on the tree that connect these different sephirot, and the paths are attributed to tarot cards that can show you how you can sort of travel in between them, which we're not going to get to. Maybe I can't teach that in one class. We'd have to work together for months and months. But they do show you, and there's varying different ways you can use these paths to travel between the Sephirot. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not hopscotching the Sephirot. You're not going to go to the moon. It's much cooler than that, actually. But if you join my Tarot Mysticism Academy, this is what I work people up to over a year of work. But it takes a while. Anyway, so the middle path would show us the High Priestess, the Temperance card, and the World's card. And I'll tell you a bit about the High Priestess. She's the one, she has, behind her she has water. There's so much to go into. I mean, I could tell you, okay, the high priestess, she's holding the Torah, and the Torah has been symbolically expressed as water, and that's why behind her veil there is this boundless water, and that's the Torah and the law of God. But then you can also say the water is the oceanic bliss of consciousness, where when you're like at that level of almost enlightenment, it's like you realize, oh my God, you're nothing but this boundless oceanic consciousness. So that is kind of there, but then there's also an abyss here. I'm not going to go into that. But then here, this line connects your conscious selfness and your subconscious. So here's where, in some ways, we do a lot of healing work, and you connect to your higher self, your holy guardian angel, if you will, if you're a Crowley person, or your holy daimon, as it's been called in other Greek traditions, or your higher self, your guides may be here, and then here to here is your subconscious mind running the physical body. So that's kind of like a short kind of way to kind of understand that. But yeah, you can travel up all of that. Did that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah.
Does anyone have any? Oh my God, the time just flies. We didn't even really get to the tarot, so maybe I'll just run to the tarot. So I'm going to do a quick run through of the 10 numbered cards, and you might not see all the connections, but you're going to see a general connection between each Sephira and the card. So the aces of the tarot are Keter, that point all the way at the top that I said. Keter, and look at this. So we have fire is movement, wands is movement, cups is what? Relationship, water is relationship, concept is swords with air, and embodiment is discs with earth. That's the big thing, right?
What's your bottom set of cards?
The bottom is the Thoth deck. It's just a different tarot deck. It's the second most popular. The top one is the most popular. I teach both of them in my school. I tend to focus on this one later because it's way much more to learn, but yeah. So number one, beginning, Keter is crown. It's the beginning of the whole thing. It's the monad. Number two is Hokmah. These are, all, by the way, every Sephira has a bunch of associations. So if you're a magic user, like, association sympathy is the idea that by working with certain things, they correspond to other things. So like certain plants will correspond to certain planets, will correspond to certain sensations or smells. And by working with those sensations, smells, plants, or whatever, you are creating a sympathy with the energy you want to work with. So like if you wanted to be rich and famous, you might work with Jupiter, and you might work with Chesed. And so all these things, they're connected to everything. Astrology, numerology, Qabalah, Hermeticism, and all forms of magics and plants and gemstones and crystals, it's all here. So, but remember, all of that comes out of movement, relationship, concept, and embodiment. Okay, so yeah, let's see. So Hokmah is the movement. Things are kind of going into motion, and you can see there's movement. In the Two of Wands to the right, you can see there's movement into what am I going to conquer. In Two of Cups, there's movement into a relationship. Two of Swords, there's meditation. There's movement of what? The mind, concept. Two of Pentacles, there's physical movement. There's travel. Three, and then I'm not going to go into the court cards, maybe tomorrow. Threes are receive. Three has to do with, remember, understanding. They create relationship. In the Wands, we have a relationship of where the person wants to go from where they are right now. In the Three of Cups, we have a relationship between three friends. In the Three of Swords, we have a relationship to our own self-concept, which is ultimately pain, and that goes into a whole nother deep thing. But essentially, if you have a self-concept, if you have an ego, there's going to be pain because there's something you are not. And so your relationship to your own self as a separate thing from the whole universe is the Three of Swords. It's the mystery of, it's the mourning. It's the beauty of our ability to mourn the loss of other people, but really that's our ego. It goes into a whole other thing. So sorry about I'm rushing through. Three of Pentacles is relationship between matter and embodiment. So how are we going to make, teamwork makes the dream work. So yeah, each of these cards will eventually, you'll find a connection. So like Chesed is the fourth Sephira and is connected. All these cards are in some way connected to the mercy of Chesed. All the fives are connected to the severity of Geburah. All the sixes are connected to the beauty of Tiferet. All of the 7s are connected to the victory and that desire nature of Netzach. All the 8s are connected to the logic and intellect in a way of Hod. All the 9s are connected to the subconscious in some way of Yesod. And all the 10s are connected into the physical world or the results of creation, which is Malkuth. Now, the court cards are also attributed. The major arcana cards are attributed via those paths. And ultimately, what you get through all of this is an entire blueprint of reality itself. And then you have all these cards that you can work with, not just pulling them and asking them questions, but bringing in their energy to have a lot of fun. And it's a lot of fun. So what I do at Tarot Mysticism Academy is I teach people, again, I could teach you how to read cards in like 3-4 months. I'll have you reading like nobody's business. You could start a whole practice if you want. But this stuff, I take people over a year of time to train them in all of this, and then the magic really happens. So yeah, well, thank you all so much for being here. It means a lot, and yeah.